What's going on, everyone? We're back again with another one. And before we get into what I want to talk about today, I just want to clarify something I said in my last video, which was that buyer's agents are completely free. Now, I don't want anything to be misrepresented or misunderstood. So I'm just going to go over a quick example with you guys about how this works. So let's just say a seller's selling their house for $100,000, keep it simple. They listed with an agent at a 4% commission. So what this means is, out of the seller's proceeds they get from selling their house, 4% of that number will be given out to the agents. Now typically it's split down the middle, so 2% or $2,000 in this case would be given to the seller's agent, and another 2% or $2,000 would be given to the buyer's agent, which together would make the 4%. Now this comes out of the proceeds, like I said, that the seller gets. So a buyer comes along and pays $100,000. The seller gets out $100,000 and they pay out the 4% commissions to both parties. So I don't want to misrepresent and say that the buyer's agent services are completely free, because technically as a buyer, when you pay that $100,000, you're technically paying for the commissions because they're built into the sales price. So when you pay that $100,000, technically 4% of that $100,000 that you're paying is going towards commissions, but it doesn't come out of your pocket, it comes out of the seller's proceeds. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. So now on what I want to talk about today is for sale by owners. So they've been around for a while and they'll continue to be around till who knows when, till robots take over the planet. But anyway, why do people do for sale by owners? Well, there's a lot of information out there today, and with tools like Zillow and Realtor.com, people are starting to think that they can do it themselves, which, hey, maybe you can. But I want to go over all the reasons and drawbacks onto why this might not be such a great idea. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the MLS, right? So when you list with an agent, you're going to go into the MLS. Now, you can still get in the MLS without listing with an agent, and typically this is through a transaction broker, like we talked about in one of my last videos. You can pay a flat fee, I think it's around $250, and you will go on to the MLS. So there are ways to do it without an agent, but the MLS is the tried and true bread and butter for agents where you get the most exposure. Now, realtors don't look on Zillow and they don't look at Realtor.com every day. Where they do look is the MLS, because that's the marketplace for realtors and agents. So if you don't go on the MLS and you just decide to go on one of these websites, you're severely limiting your exposure. Now, just going onto the MLS will not solve all of your worries, because there are plenty of other things that go into this. So just a stat for you, 89% of all homes sold on the market are assisted by a realtor. And this comes from the NAR, or National Association of Realtors. So now we're going to get into our next point, which is high roller buyers typically don't look at for sale by owners. And this is because they typically work with agents. So if buyers work with an agent, as I mentioned before, agents typically don't look at Realtor.com and Zillow. They look on the MLS, and the MLS is vast majority are not filled with for sale by owners. And another reason on why agents aren't going out of their way to work with for sale by owners on the buy side is because they now know that they have to do both sides of the transaction. And what I mean by this is, let's say a buyer does look on Zillow and say, oh, I really like this house. They tell their buyer's agent, and they look at it and they say, oh, it's a for sale by owner. So now they're going to have, of course, their duty to their buyer, but now they're also going to have to hold the seller's hand through this process, because they've never done it before and they really don't know what they're doing essentially. So a lot of FSBOs will try and save out on the listing side of the commission, so that 4%, right, they would half it and they would still give out the buyer's commission to the buyer's agent. And now some for sale by owners feel, well, why am I paying a buyer's agent just to bring someone to my property? They don't assist me, they don't help me. And if they do want assistance and help, the buyer's agent now has to do double the work for the same amount of money. And then you have to enter into an agreement with them, because in order for them to represent you in a fiduciary manner, they would have to enter into a dual agency agreement, like we talked about before. And along with that, of course, is the fiduciary responsibility. So no one has a fiduciary duty to you and represent you when you're a for sale by owner. You're on your own. You're doing your own negotiations. And that brings us to one of our other important points. You can't be an amateur when it comes to negotiations, when it comes to a real estate transaction. There's a lot of things that go into it. So if there's a bunch of inspection issues, as a seller, you need to know that you don't have to fix all of them, and you can be taken advantage of if you don't know what you're doing. So another stat for you that really speaks volumes, again done by the National Association of Realtors, in 2018, only 8% of the homes sold accounted for sale by owners. And what they found is the average sale price of those homes sold by the owners themselves without an agent was $217,900. And they compared this to homes sold with the assistance of an agent, a property that was listed, and they found that the average sale price was $295,000. Now that's a big difference. That's a difference of, I gotta do some mental math here, 218,000. So guys, if my math is correct, that is a difference of $77,100. So if you think you're going to save a little bit on commission, you might be taking a lot more out of your pocket than a 4, 5, 6% commission. So our next point, just to lighten the mood a little bit, there could be various zoning laws that you might not have been aware of. So when the property gets inspected, you might be in violation of some of these laws without knowing. So for example, in Georgia, there's a county where you can be fined if you have too many vegetables growing on your property. So in a garden, let's say. And there was actually a gentleman who was imposing up to $5,000 for growing too many broccoli plants in his garden, if you could believe that. So now we're going to talk about the most important topic when it comes to selling a home, period. And that is pricing your home. So when you go to price a home, you might get an estimate from Zillow or Realtor.com. You know, you see the Zestimate and you say, ooh, I like that range. But you have to realize that these are not accurate. These are based off of user inputted data and a proprietary algorithm that these use. They are not entirely accurate. And you can do yourself such a disservice by over or underpricing your property. If you underprice it, you're leaving money on the table. And if you overprice it, your home is going to sit on the market and you're going to get extremely frustrated on why it's not going to sell. And then you have to knock the price down and knock the price down. And it's statistically shown that homes that are overpriced stay on the market longer and sell for less than market price if they listed it at market when they listed it in the first place. So who would know how to price a home correctly? You guessed it, a good real estate agent who knows the area. And probably just about the second most important thing is marketing your home. So you can't just post your home on Zillow or Realtor.com and let it sit there, especially if it's overpriced. And again, you can't just put it on the MLS and hope it shows and hope someone sees it. Fun fact for you guys, 82% of all homes sold are sold through a realtor's contact list. So that's friends, that's family, that's former clients, that's pretty much anyone in their network they know. 82% of the time it is sold through an agent's network. And while we're talking about connections, a rockstar agent is going to know other rockstar people in the profession. So if you need a good plumber, electrician, an inspection issue comes up, roof leaking, anyway, you name it, a rockstar agent's going to know other rock stars in the area, so it'll make that process so much easier and it'll take the load off your back. If you're a for sale by owner, you now have to go interview a bunch of contractors, a bunch of plumbers, you got to accept bids, see which one, who you trust, interview, you name it. Alright, thank you all for watching. Don't forget, spread love, spread positivity, invest in yourself, and invest in today for a better tomorrow.